Hi, it's Steve Hargadon, and we are in our pre-conference keynote night. In the United States or North America, it's Wednesday night, April 30th, 2014, and we have 3 conference keynotes. This is our final. Thanks so much to our conference sponsor, ClassFlow. Go to classflow.com, find out more. Also, at the end of the session, after you fill out the survey, you'll notice there's a link to ClassFlow. Please do support them because they've supported us making this event free. Thanks to Blackboard Collaborate for this terrific, stable platform for worldwide events. It's been so much fun over the years to use Blackboard Collaborate. Previously Illuminate, some of you will have known that. Okay, now look to the left of the map. You're looking for the icons that are right up against the side. The second one down is a star. If you click on that twice and then click on the map, you can let us know where you're participating from. In our last session, we had people from every continent except Africa. Now, as the time gets later here, that may not be possible. And we look very North America-centric right now. But go ahead and put your information in the chat. Some of you have done that, where you're located. Sometimes it's fun to know the time and the temperature. I'm in North Carolina in the United States, and we've been having rain and thunderstorms, as many in the U.S. have, I think. Go ahead and keep those notes going in the chat, but I'm going to move forward here to give Travis as much time as possible. Travis, thanks for going through the work of converting your presentation and getting the slides ready. We're sure delighted to have you here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It took some doing, but it came together. Would you like me to start?
Yeah, I'm going to turn the time over to you, but I'll be here to support you. And then when you, if and when you want to go to Q&A, I can help you there.
Awesome, great. Well, I appreciate everyone joining us this evening. It's now a little past 9 my time here. Not the typical time I do presentations, but I think it'll work. My name is Travis Allen. I am a college student at Kennesaw State University in Georgia, for those of you who don't know. We are 30,000 students now, and we're getting a football team next year, so I guess that's what really matters. We are, again, based right outside Atlanta, Georgia, and that's where my team and I go to college. Today I want to talk about becoming a mobile learner and what that means to be a mobile learner. And I really want to focus on 3 different areas. And the first question I want to ask is, why? As we look at mobile technology and all these different ways of communicating and collaborating, have we stopped to ask ourselves why? The second question I want to ask is and address is, how do we get there? You know, we can sit here and talk about why all day, but how do we accomplish this mobile learning environment? And the last thing I want to do in this presentation is share with you 3 things you can do to completely change the world as you know it. So, the journey. What I would like each of you to do this evening is walk in my shoes. Imagine what it's like to grow up in the information age, surrounded by technology. And I want to go through my timeline, my story of where I started, where I am today. This is normally a presentation built on Prezi, but it's been converted to images, so it may be a little bit choppy at times. But just to start here, I want to show some of the technology that already existed before I was born. You have the Nintendo Game Boy in 1989. The first cell phone in 1984 priced at $4,000. I was born in 1991, and this is where my journey began. And during the first decade of my life here, Companies like eBay, Amazon, Google, Wikipedia, all these companies started coming into existence and started shaping who I am today. But really focusing on the second decade of my life, when I was 12 years old, I received my first computer. And this was an amazing time in my life because I had the ability to go anywhere. The possibilities were absolutely endless, and I could go anywhere I wanted. And so this was a really important time in my life. And then when I was 13, I received my first cell phone. So by the time I was 13, I was mobile. And this is really where my journey began as a mobile learner. And then when I was 14, I played a lot of video games. Now, I don't know if you guys can do little hand-raising icons in here. I'm sure you can. But does anyone here enjoy playing video games? Or you can speak your mind in chat if you want. Well, or maybe you have kids or spouses who enjoy playing video games. But for me, video games were a very big part of growing up. And I want to share just a personal story here. When I was 14 years old, iSchool Initiative was not the first company or organization I created. I created a virtual fake business inside this online world. This online world was one of those massive online role-playing games where you play with thousands of other people all over the world. And I created this virtual business, and within the first year and a half of playing the game, I became one of the wealthiest people in the game. And I had 30 and 40-year-olds working for my company in this virtual world. So I learned a lot through video games, and it was a big part of my life growing up. And then when I was 16, I dove into the world of social media. Now, not only could I explore the world around me, but I had a voice, I had an opinion, and I could share it with the rest of the world for absolutely free. And that was an amazing, revolutionary concept that is changing our world, and yet most of our youth don't realize the power that they've been given. And then in high school, when I was 17 years old, I received my first cell phone. And I began to do everything with this cell phone. I took notes, read books, graphing calculators, you name it. I did it on this device. And I quickly noticed a huge divide between my education and my real-world experience. My education looked something like this. We started to see the use of computers, but really it was only used for word processing and occasionally Oregon Trail if we were lucky. There was almost no internet being used in my classroom growing up, and no cell phones being used at all in the classroom. And my team and I, we created a list of grievances we experienced growing up as students. And I want to share just some of those highlights with you. Students and learners cram and memorize for a test and then forget it all the next day. Buy outdated textbooks and never open them. Are expected to learn to survive in the real world without experiencing the real world. Schools are bound to four walls and a desk, are killing creativity from Sir Ken Robinson. And last, our current education system is built on an outdated model, fails to account for different learning style of today's digital natives, and fails to embrace technology, mobile communications, and new innovative teaching methods. And I want to play a quick video for you that shows just where we rank against the rest of the world in education. So I'm going to just share that video with you here real quick. See if this works. Oh,
mine says the video doesn't exist. Is there a problem with the link?
Yep, I cut the link off. I'm missing the last few characters. Let's try that again.
Once the video goes up, it will autoplay for those of you there. Oh, now it's saying the video is private. As far as you know, is it a private video?
Oh man, yeah, this video is private. It works on my screen because I guess I have access to it. How about this? If we have time at the end, I'll turn it off private and I'll come back to it. It's a great video. I'll keep going. I'll come back to it. I got to make sure to set my videos not to private. So we'll come back to the video, but just to close what education was for me, America's education is the Titanic. It is a huge industrial age model, and there's so much infrastructure in place that it's hard to steer and change directions. And the problem is we're headed straight for the information age, and there's an iceberg in our way. That iceberg represents the challenges everyone in this room faces to get to the information age right now. And often we think the problem is not enough technology. However, many of us in education know that that's not quite the case. The true problem lies within ignorance. People are not aware of the need for change, and most importantly, fear of change. Now, here's the thing about fear. Fear is one of the most powerful motivators. And so if I'm afraid to change, then change will never occur. And so what we have to do, the shift that has to happen in education, is that we have to go from a fear of change to a fear of what will happen if I don't change. Once we have that, we will see true change happen in the classroom. So this is where I felt my education was. But my real world looked something like this. The idea...
Hey, Travis?
Yes?
It's Steve. Can you go back to that slide? I just did a quick search on Google, and I couldn't find those grievances published anywhere. Did you ever publish those?
They are put in our my Prezi, which I can share live at the end of the presentation. In fact, I'll put a link in chat at the end that you can link to the actual interactive presentation for this.
And that's the only place they live? They don't have a home on the web anywhere?
I believe they're on our website somewhere, but no, we haven't published them anywhere or anything like that.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, no worries, no worries. So after my experience in K through 12 education, it was an interesting journey. And one day, in 2009, I was a 17-year-old in high school, and I used mobile technology to do everything in the classroom. And one day, I was using my phone in my math class to take notes, and the policy in my district was no cell phones allowed. And so that day, my teacher took out my device, gave it to my principal. My principal called my parents, and I was in trouble that day. Out of a complete frustration, I decided to go home and do something about it. And I turned to the only place I knew to go to share a message for absolutely free with the entire world. And this video will work, and I turned to YouTube here to show how one-to-one mobile learning would transform education. And I'd like to go ahead and just play the first minute of that video for you. Let me pull it up here. I will say that I will cut it off, so don't be surprised if I turn it off halfway through. I just want to play the beginning here. So I'm going to go ahead and put this up here. My name is Travis. I'm a 17-year-old high school student at Whitewater High in Fayetteville, Georgia. I believe I have a solution to America's education problem, and I need your help. My high school is experiencing massive budget cuts, teachers are being let go, and classroom sizes are getting larger. Our public education system is broken, and it needs to be changed. I hope you'll take a moment to watch this short PowerPoint presentation I put together that answers the question, does technology belong in our classroom? You decide. Let me introduce you to the future of American education, the iSchool. The iSchool will be built on Apple's popular iTouch platform. The iTouch is a revolutionary handheld device that is capturing the imagination of people worldwide. With its easy-to-use touchscreen interface, it has set the standard for music, video, and third-party applications. With the right plan, this simple device could change the face of public education. The idea is simple. Imagine a schoolroom with no books, no paper, no expensive copy machine, and no more number 2 pencils. Impossible, you say? What I'm about to show you are images from applications already available on the iTouch. Most of these programs are classroom ready today. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video there, but you can watch the whole thing on YouTube. We just re-uploaded it. It's the original YouTube video that I created 4.5 years ago now. And that video that I put out there as a high school student began to go viral. And I was getting emails from all over the world, from Asia, from Australia, Europe, saying, this is the way I want to learn. And so it was out of that interest that I went to college the following year and created the iSchool Initiative. The iSchool Initiative is a completely for-purpose organization dedicated to reforming education through technology. Our mission is to motivate and inspire people to become lifelong mobile learners. And it's really been quite the journey. We're going to come back to this, but I want to continue with my timeline and my story here. In 2011, I entered into a Google Young Minds competition. So this was a competition hosted by Google. It was an international competition that if you were between the ages of 18 and 24 to submit a 1-minute YouTube video showing how you're changing the world. I had the privilege of being selected as the winner in 2011 and attended Google's Zeitgeist conference. Now at this conference, I was able to meet many of my role models, many people that I've looked up to in many different ways and people that I've heard of. People like on the bottom right, Larry Page, the CEO of Google, or Sir Richard Branson from Virgin Mobile in the middle, Ayanna Huffington from the Huffington Post, will.i.am from the Black Eyed Peas, Tony Hawk, the professional skateboarder. But the most interesting person I met was Peter, the top left there, the creator of Angry Birds. And I really enjoyed meeting Peter because he had this amazing story. You know, he told me something that I really needed to hear at this point in my life. He said that most people think that he became a millionaire overnight. He became this instant success. And he painted a completely different picture. He told me that Angry Birds was the 58th game he ever created. 58th game. Now that doesn't sound like overnight success to me. In fact, that sounds like he failed 57 times before finally becoming successful. And this was a message, again, that I didn't hear enough growing up. A message that really meant something to me at the time and helped me as I was starting my own organization and I was creating this movement with iSchool Initiative. So I really enjoyed meeting Peter. Now, a year later, in 2012, my team and I, we were invited to the White House to attend the Educational Datapalooza event. Now, at this event, we were able to share our thoughts and ideas on where we want to see education. We were also able to learn about what they're currently doing in education. And what I gathered from this meeting at the White House was that the question is no longer, does technology belong in our classroom? The question today is, what do we do about it? How do we effectively use technology? I mean, just in the first quarter of this year alone, of last year, 2013, there were well over 2 million tablets bought by districts in the United States. Countries like Turkey and Korea and India are going one-to-one across the nation. So the reality is it's here. But now we have to ask ourselves, what do we do about it? Now, creating this organization has also led us to reach a very global audience. We have consulted and done presentations and work in over 8 different countries now. But some of the most interesting countries are listed here, and I just want to share a couple stories. We went to Tanzania, and that was not what I expected at all. Here I was where they didn't have running water. They didn't have electricity, and yet every single one of these college students right here had a cell phone. Not only did they all have a cell phone, but I went on a safari in the middle of nowhere, and I'm 10 feet away from a giraffe. I pull out my phone to take a picture of it, and I had full 3G service on my phone. While they're so well connected, while they have their difficulties, they're so well connected out there. And it has made a big difference with them. So while we're the Titanic, they're a sailboat, and they're headed straight for the information age. In addition to that, we also went to work with the government of Spain for 3 weeks to evaluate what are their needs to go one-to-one, or what are their needs to integrate mobile technology effectively. And what we found was that they were recreating the wheel. Not only were they recreating the wheel, but every district in the United States and other countries were recreating the wheel. And what I love about Classroom 2.0 and what this event means right here with what Steve's doing is it's all about collaboration. It's all about, you know, while failure is important, if we can learn from someone else's failure, that's great too. You know, something that I haven't been able to comprehend exactly was every school I work with seems to have a need to work with a pilot deployment. And to me, it just doesn't make sense. I'm like, wasn't there 100 other pilots that did this right down the street from you that you could learn from? So, you know, we really learned that collaboration was key. And then in Finland, for those of you who don't know, is ranked amongst the highest in education. And so our goal going to Finland was to figure out why. What sets them apart? What's so different about what they do? And, you know, for us, we didn't find much that was different. They didn't have more technology. They didn't have longer school days. In fact, there really wasn't a whole lot that was different, except for one major area: the culture. The way that their other teachers perceive teachers, the way the community perceives teachers, and most importantly, the way students perceive teachers in Finland is completely different. You see, teachers in Finland are revered. Teachers are seen as the gatekeepers to the future of that country. And for us, I believe that this is not our culture in the United States. And why do I believe this? Because I was a student not that long ago in high school. And I was the student that nobody wanted in your classroom. I was a student that was disrespectful, that didn't treat my teachers well, that just didn't want to be there in school. And so I believe that it will take far more than just technology to fix education. We have got to change our culture. And our culture begins with everyone here. So this has been some of our stories and where we've come from. But I really want to go to the question, how? And before we talk about the how, I want to go back to this iceberg I mentioned earlier. So I want to go deeper than just fear of change to what have been the barriers to mobile technology adoption. And for us, we have seen 10 major barriers when schools are looking to deploy mobile technology. And I just want to walk through the list here and see if you relate to any of these. So here are the 10. Number 1, lack of vision and leadership. If you don't have a roadmap of where you want to go, then you're not going to end up anywhere. If you don't have support from the top down, then your initiative won't be successful. And so this vision and roadmap is absolutely critical. If your vision is to put technology in the classroom, then all you'll get is technology in the classroom by the end of the day. Number 2, the phrase, we don't have money. We hear this a lot in education, and yet time and time again, I find one teacher, one principal, one student with no dollars that is doing absolutely amazing things. Number 3, curriculum. If we're no longer a sage on stage but a guide on the side, then we must change the way we teach. We must change our curriculum. Number 4, we have to go from supplemental use to essential use. And what I mean by this is I don't want just a PDF copy of my textbook on my tablet. That does me no good. All it does is save a few trees. I want an interactive experience. I want something that comes to life. I want something that engages me as a learner. Number 5, lack of technical infrastructure. I walked into a district we were working with one day, and they were so proud. We walked in and they said, we just deployed 5,000 tablets. And when I walked in, I couldn't even connect to the Wi-Fi on my mobile device. That connectivity is so vital to success. Number 6 and 7, probably my favorite, culture and mindset. How do your teachers, your administrators, your students, and your parents perceive this initiative? I mean, here's the thing. We often think that students know how to use technology. However, most of us in education know that's not the case. They know how to use it for Facebook. They know how to use it for video games, but they don't know how to use it as a productive tool. Now ask yourselves why they don't. Where do you learn to use something educationally? The classroom. And so if we're not using it, then they're not learning how to use it productively. I'll give a calculator as an example. If I give a group of students a calculator for the first time and they've never used it before, I guarantee you they won't be able to do complex math equations. But they will quickly find out how to type inappropriate words with the numbers upside down on the calculator. So we have got to incorporate this technology in the classroom so we can learn how to use it productively. Number 8, it takes too long for change. I was working with another district that said they were working on their 8-year technology plan. And for me, I'm just thinking, like the smartphones didn't even exist 8 years ago. So how are you building for something like that? So we often say take baby steps, moving forward quickly. And it goes back to my whole spiel about pilot schools. And, this year we'll do a year-long pilot school for this. Next year we'll expand it to 2. And, we just don't have time to wait that long to get where we need to be in education. 9, assessments. I have a personal issue with this. If I, as a college student, have to take another multiple choice Scantron test to evaluate my ability to perform in the workforce, I might just go insane. We have to change the way we measure success with our students. And 10, and most importantly, schools are buying a tablet and not a learning solution. And again, what I mean by this is that their vision was to put technology in the classroom, not to create that learning environment. So I want to pause here just for a moment. And I want to just, if you could in chat put, what is your top 2? Just put the number if you want. What are your top 2 of these 10 top 2 barriers you've seen working with your own district, working with other districts, whatever it might be? Just go ahead and put them in chat. And if you have any questions before we get into Q&A here, we can probably address some of them as well. Okay, so we're getting some variations here. I see lots of number 1s more than anything. I see a couple number 2s, a couple number 10s, and number 8 more than anything here. So I'm definitely seeing a couple more 8s, 10s, 4s, 2s. I saw one of your posts. Someone just said, let's see here, where'd it go? Worrying about showing outcomes. Again, what I've seen in education is it's so driven on what does our education put focus on? To me, evaluation drives behavior. And so if I put all of the weight on evaluations on, a certain criteria, then that's what everyone's going to focus on. And I think that's a major problem in education is we worry about the wrong things in education and we evaluate the wrong things. But because we do that, we have to teach to the test. We have to, focus on that. I think that's something we need to change. And again, it really comes down to culture with that. And then I saw a couple of number 10s and lots of number 1s. We're going to address number 1 here, but there are many ways to address this number 1 here. So now what I want to do is, again, I don't want to just talk about why. I don't want to just sit here and talk about the problems. I want to talk about solutions. I want to talk about how you can get through this. And for us, we do 4 different things that focus on addressing this iceberg. And these are the things you can do as well with your districts. And this is just what we've seen as successful to tackle all 10 of these barriers at some level. Those 4 things that we do are professional development, the DLR tour, which we'll come to, building a vision and technology plan, and deploying what we call mobile toolkits. So I'm going to just dive into professional development. There has been a huge, huge need, in my opinion, in education professional development. And a lot of times the focus is just not here on this area. What I noticed when I first stepped into this industry was that schools were buying technology left and right for the sake of having technology. And yet there really wasn't an understanding of what they were going to do with it. So for us, when we look at professional development, just to go over some of our experience real quick, we have trained over 120,000 administrators and teachers in the last 2 years across the country. We've been in over 35 different states. We've helped large deployments do 7,000, large districts do, their mobile deployments from 7, 8, 20,000 deployments for their professional development. We've come up with this concept of students teaching teachers. And that's been kind of our model for professional development is around that concept. So we've had a lot of experience in the last 2 years when it comes to professional development and seeing best practices on what works with schools. When we look at professional development, it's important to understand your target audience. And so for us, we break teachers and education into 3 types of categories, and you've probably seen this as well. Teacher type 1 are your sailboats. That's over here on the right. These are your mobile champions. These are the ones you can't even keep up with. They're so innovative. They move so fast you just can't even keep up with what they're doing. And probably many of you in this room are sailboats. You know, the other thing I've noticed is that anytime you have a conference or a gathering like this, it's a bunch of sailboats, you know, just cheering each other on as we learn, we embark upon this in our districts. But your second type of teacher, we call your tugboats. And your tugboats are the individuals who will eventually get there, but they need a little pull. They need a little pull to get there. And your third type of teachers are your anchors. And these are those individuals who have that fear of change and are so set in their ways that it's hard to make that transition. It's hard to make that change. And my question to you, when you do your professional development, when you focus on your deployment, who do you want your tugboats tied to? Do you want them tied to your anchors or your sailboats? And so when we provide professional development, we focus on empowering the sailboats while providing support for the tugboats. And this is what we have seen in education with professional development. Now, the other thing I'll note here is we have 4 phases to how we do our professional development. When you're deploying devices, when you're doing anything with this technology, it's important to deploy to teachers and leaders first. So we provide usually a lot of teacher and professional development for teachers and leaders, and they usually have the devices on average 4 to 6 months before any students get their device. After that, phase 2 is student professional development. We've done a lot of student training focused on using devices effectively, from digital citizenship to responsible use to effectively taking notes to changing the way they learn, study, and read and write and different things like that. Number 3, virtual training. I'm sure many of you have gone to conferences and you're just overwhelmed with information, so providing that virtual support is great. And again, you know, what Steve does is such a great example of amazing virtual support and training. Phase 4 is community and parent awareness. What we do is we do a parent community night at each school we work with, and we bring all the parents in. And just to share a quick story here, we were working with a district whose Wi-Fi connectivity at home was less than 40%. And they were about to go one-to-one mobile devices. And they did a parent event where we did a keynote and a panel. And right after the keynote and the presentation, there were Wi-Fi providers standing ready outside the front doors for parents to sign up for government-subsidized Wi-Fi, $10 a month high-speed internet. Their connectivity went from 40% to 83% after 4 months of starting the initiative. So that parent community support is vital. The last piece I'll mention with professional development here is, as you seek to help your staff understand all this, is our approach with professional development is around this concept of find, filter, and apply. No longer in the workplace is it as valuable to memorize and retain everything up here. It is more valuable if you can quickly find the right information and apply it to your everyday life. So find, filter, and apply. And I want to share a quote with you from the head of HR and operations for Google, the person doing a lot of the hiring. He said, the number 1 thing we look for is general cognitive ability. It's not IQ, it's learning ability, the ability to learn and process on the fly. These are the type of skills we've got to generate with our youth to better prepare them for the workforce they're headed into. So again, it's not so much about what you can retain and memorize, more so what you can quickly find and apply to your daily life. So that's professional development. Now, the next piece I want to move towards is our DLR tour. This stands for Digital Learning Revolution, and this is our movement we've created across the nation to reform education. And we created it out of a need for building culture and excitement around mobile learning. And it started 2 years ago. And my team and I came together, and we originally thought, hey, what if we hold a conference in Georgia where we're from, and we invite everyone we know? But we quickly found out that was expensive and that's really hard to do. So we thought, why not be a conference on wheels? Why not take the show to the districts and schools who are looking to move in this direction. And so in 2012, we launched the first ever nationwide tour. And my team and I, there was 10 of us at the time, we lived in a bus, one of these big Rockstar tour buses, for 45 days, 9 guys and 1 girl, traveling cross-country to over 21 cities over our summer to present in front of anyone who would listen to us. We started in Georgia, we went all the way to California, up to New York, and then back to Georgia on this journey. And just to tell you a story about how this came to be, I went to my team and I said, hey, I've got this idea. Well, we have 2 months to book 21 cities of conferences and 2 months to raise $150,000 to fund it. And, you know, my team thought I was a little crazy at the time. I probably was. But I went to, you know, find sponsorship, and 4 days before launch, we had signed contracts. We had committed $150,000 to make this happen. We did all that, and we were $40,000 short of getting where we needed to be. And I met with the president of my university that day, 4 days before launch, and I said, hey, this is what we're doing. And he looked at me and he said, how much money do you need? And I said, $40,000. And he wrote me a check that day and became one of our sponsors, as a university, became one of our sponsors to support our initiative. And it was at that moment that I realized I should have said I needed $60,000. But that was our first year tour. It was an absolutely amazing experience, and my team would never take it back. The last stop on this tour was actually back in Georgia, and it was my old high school. The very high school that took my device up 4.5 years ago has now done a 180. They're a completely BYOD district, bring your own device. And it was an amazing opportunity to go back to my old school, more so because that very same year, my little brother, Chase, started his high school freshman year at that very high school. And he has the ability to learn in ways that I would have loved to have had. And so this is our deal, our tour, and our experiences here. And I want to just play one last video here. Let me pull it up. That showcases some of our experiences from tour. So I've got the link here. And the one thing I'll mention is our tour went from a 45-day tour to, in 2013, we launched a 6-month nationwide tour, traveling cross-country. We don't live in the bus anymore. This new bus you see a picture of here transforms into what we call the mobile classroom experience. You can fit about 40 people on there, and it showcases what mobile technology can do in the classroom. So I'm going to play a video for you to show you some of the experiences we had on tour here. Today, I'm here to share with you my journey of becoming a mobile learner. So what you're experiencing here today is the Digital Learning Revolution 4. This is our 6th day of a 6-month trek across country to reform education and inspire young people, teachers, administrators to rethink how we see education and how we use technology effectively in the classroom. We want to show what mobile technology can do in the classroom. So if you go on the bus, it shows some of the technology, and when you walk on, you're going to get that complete classroom experience, seeing what is possible and how we can change education through that.
We are a group of students who understand the importance of teachers, and that an iPad in no way, shape, or form can ever replace a teacher, but it can enhance what they're already doing.
We need our government to see this. We need our administrators to see this.
There are a lot of educators around there that are just starving for the tools. High School Initiative will feed that.
There is an integration between tools and creative thinking. Tools we have make available ideas which might otherwise be unthinkable.
With this device, you have a control of your own learning. It gives the power back to the students. That's why I love High School Initiative so much.
I'll then stop it there. But that's been our experience of launching our DLR tour. And this year it's a year-round now. So every week it's going to different district and school to promote change in the classroom. I believe it's in Oregon all next week, and California after that right now. And then it'll be heading up back to the East Coast here in a month or so. So the next piece I want to talk about is vision. Number one was listed a lot as one of the big barriers that you'll experience to move in this direction. And so for us, we've broken it down into 5 phases of deployment when creating a vision, creating a plan. And here's what happens in education. They go backwards on this list. Let me explain what that means. And of course, I'll show at the end some different places where you can find out where the bus is going to be, and also send you links to information how you can follow. There's several public events for all teachers it's going to be at in the next 2 months that I would highly encourage you to check out. I'll also be there and speaking live, not over a presentation. So I'll make sure you get that by the end of the day here. So yeah, going back to these 5 phases of deployments, here's what typically happens in education. The school first deploys the devices, and they put them in the classroom quickly, and then they're like, oh man, nobody can connect to the internet, so okay, let's start putting in the Wi-Fi in place, let's start adding the Wi-Fi, and then they're like, oh man, wait, we have Wi-Fi now, but nobody wants to use it, so we've got to create the desire. But it's so important to do this the right way, and the right way to do this is first create the desire from within to want to use this technology. Technology cannot be forced on anybody, it must be bought from within. After that, we often look at do a needs assessment to evaluate what are the missing components for a district. Then you build the infrastructure, then you deploy the devices and provide the training, then you do measurable success. When are you coming to Australia? It looks like we actually will be in Australia later this year, I hope. It's not confirmed, but we're speaking at some conferences out there. So hopefully we'll be out there soon. So the other thing I want to put here is when you're building your vision and your roadmap, I took this chart from the Center for Digital Education. Great resource, white papers, things like that on mobile learning, on everything really when it comes to technology in the classroom. And just some statistics on personalized learning. 69% increased student engagement, 28% improved test scores, 22% better attendance. Honestly, I don't care about the test scores. Personal opinion, because again, we've got to change the way we evaluate. Attendance, one of the first schools we went to, when they deployed the one-to-one device, the individuals were able to keep the devices after they graduated, and their graduation rate went from 80% to 90%. One of the last things I want to mention here on the technology plan is what does one-to-one mobile learning look like, or BYOD, or whatever you're looking to do when incorporating technology in the classroom. I took this chart from Dr. Kee-Chit from Singapore. And he said that there are 4 types of learning when it comes to these devices. You have the bottom level right here, in class, top level, out of class experiences. On the left, you have planned and structured learning, and on the right, you have emergent learning. And type 1 learning is in this first quadrant right here, and this is the idea of planned, structured learning. So an example of this is, okay, it's still a lecture going on, but all the kids have a PDF copy of their textbook, great. Again, it's not really changing anything. It's just being supplemented with technology as opposed to what it might have been before. Where we want to move towards, so type 2 learning is the same thing but out of class. Type 3 learning is emergent learning out of class. Not going to focus too much on there. Where I want to focus my efforts here is type 4 learning, this 4th quadrant. Emergent learning, unplanned learning occurring inside the classroom. Now, this is an interesting concept to me, and it took me a bit to grasp here, but let me just give an example. If I'm a teacher and I say, okay, kids, today we're going to talk about the meaning of life, go. And that's all I say to my students, they're going to have dozens of questions throughout the day as they get with their peers, as they start collaborating, as they start finding out what the answer is to that question. And those questions that they ask you as a teacher are the teachable moments you never planned on teaching that day. And so this emergent learning happening inside the classroom. The last piece I want to mention here is what we call mobile toolkits. This is something we work with schools to provide because it's not about deploying a tablet, it's about deploying a complete learning solution. And so for us, it takes many components that sometimes are overlooked, and a lot of times they just buy the tablet. So the mobile toolkit is kind of like a Build-A-Bear workshop concept. You choose your tablet, it doesn't matter, Android, iOS, Windows, whatever it is, choose what's best for your school. Complement it with casing, complete protection, warranty, content management, the ability to deliver books and content, interactive experiences, social learning platforms, the ability to collaborate with your peers and communicate, wireless infrastructure, so critical, that connectivity piece. Storage and charging, something that we often overlook is simply a safe and secure place to store and charge the devices. Mobile device management, this is the glue that holds everything together. MDM is so vital here. And with mobile device management, it gives the ability to really oversee apps, what's going on those devices, and so much more. It's just an essential ingredient. Assessment tools. Again, if by the end of this year, 2014, all schools are required to go to online assessments. While many schools are struggling with that, we've got to figure out how to bring a solution. So take all those ingredients, complement it with the right vision and plan, the right culture, and the right training, and then you'll have a successful learning initiative. So I want to jump into the last piece here. Again, these are 4 ways that we are taking this iceberg head on, and 4 ways you can as well. But the last thing I want to mention here is the paradigm shift I believe that must happen in education. Currently, when schools are looking to deploy devices, they are very device-centric. It's learning about technology. It's like, okay, kids, put away your tablet. It's time to learn for the day. There's a huge disconnect there, so it's very device-centric. And where it's moving towards, and where a lot of districts are at now, is content-centric, where now we're learning from technology. It's like we have to have the latest, greatest apps. We have to pump that tablet full of this and that and do all this stuff, and the focus is still on the device. Where we want to head towards is a completely student-centric learning environment. We now are learning with technology. Technology becomes like oxygen. It's invisible, it's ubiquitous, and it's simply a tool on the side to enhance and transform the way we learn. And you know technology is being used effectively when you walk into a classroom and you don't even know the technology is there. And that's where we want to head towards. And so I'd like to, I'm going to go back here. Steve, I'd like to go ahead and go to Q&A, but I have probably 2 minutes of closing I'd like to do after Q&A. But we can start if you have any questions to discuss now at this point.
So if you have a question for Travis, you can either put it in the chat, or I'm going to give everyone microphone privileges and just grab the mic. You do that by clicking on the talk button. We typically don't have so many brave souls that we get a competition for that, but just click on that talk button and you can ask a question out loud or put a question in the chat. I'm interested, Travis, in a couple of things, and I'll ask my questions until we hear from others. Oh, there we go. Sandra says, how can a school request a visit?
Yeah, I'll address that question and put a couple links in the chat right away here. So I'm going to put a link to our homepage right in the chat here. And you can go request our services and tour and become part of our movement there. I'll also put something at the end of my slide here that you can access. What we're focusing a lot for the next 3 months with our tour is what we call district leadership events. It's an all-day event where myself and 3 or 4 others on my team in the bus come to visit with a district leadership team and help them brainstorm about a vision and share some of our best practices that we've seen when it comes to deploying any type of mobile initiative, BYOD, or one-to-one. So again, you can learn more about everything I've listed here on the website. I will also post a link to the presentation you just saw, but the interactive version that you can take as well. So that would be the best way to request getting in contact. And again, we would love to visit as many schools as possible. The bus is going cross-country year-round right now, so there's definitely plenty of opportunity.
So right after that, there's another question. Sandra asks, I'm interested in MDM. How do you manage store quality learning tools and distribute when needed to the right place?
Yeah, so MDM, let's just talk about, MDM. I don't want to get too technical here, nor could I, because I'm not a technical person, believe it or not. Mobile device management, again, is the glue that holds everything together. So when you're deploying devices, let's say it's iOS for a moment, Apple devices. A lot of times it has Apple configurator on it. The first thing I will immediately recommend is if you're deploying anything over 50 devices, Apple configurator will not manage the devices effectively for what you need to do. Also, additionally, when you're seeking out a mobile device management solution to help with what you're doing, a lot of MDMs out there are only specific to a certain platform, so they'll only work with that device. You want to pick solutions. So going back to the mobile toolkit, everything that I listed there, you want to pick solutions that complement all types of devices, that work on any device and is not limited to one device, because the reality is the device and platform are going to constantly change, and you don't want to have to change your MDM every single time that happens. A district I'm working with in South Carolina, they deployed 5,000, 8,000 iPads. This year they're deploying 2,000 Windows tablets, but they went with an MDM that only works on iOS devices. So they're experiencing major problems in figuring out how to switch to a different provider. So again, the number one question we ask when we partner with a company is, does it work on all devices? If the answer is no, then we don't partner with them. So for mobile device management, we focus with AirWatch. They're cross-platform. They're one of the leaders in the industry, and they provide that what they provide is full online security, so a web browser for your students to use. They provide app configuration, so I can deploy devices to and from devices. Now here's the really cool part about MDM. As a teacher, I can turn an app on or off in my given classroom if it's set up correctly. So I can say, today kids, I'm turning off your camera functionality because I don't want you to focus on using that today. So this becomes a really important piece for the classroom management when it comes to these devices, and also volume licensing purchasing. It also has a Dropbox-like feature on a lot of the MDMs where you can exchange and store all your files through MDM. So that's a quick overview of MDM and the importance of it and what it does. I hope that addresses some of your questions there. If it doesn't, definitely feel free to contact me after the event or ask any other questions in the chat here.
You've got a couple of people asking about Africa. Is Africa on your list after Australia?
So as far as the bus goes, we found out it costs more to ship the bus to another continent than it does than just to build a new bus over there. So we quoted it out. Someone did request us to get the bus somewhere else. But as far as our team goes, we are not having anything on our radar, but definitely contact us and we'll see if we can pull something together. It was pretty last minute. We were able to go to Tanzania a couple years ago. That was a really cool experience. And it's not to say that there's not going to be tons of future opportunities for us to do the same as well.
So again, you can ask Travis a question. We've got a couple more minutes before he wants to do a 2-minute close. You can put that question in the chat or you can grab the microphone. Travis, I'm interested in, go ahead.
I was just going to address a few comments I'm seeing here real quick. Is there a charge for visits? Typically there's a charge to bring us out there. That you can work out with my team. It just depends on, if we're already on that area, it's really going to help our cost to bring the tour out and make it possible. And again, my recommendation is just when you send out a request to my team, they can work you through all those details. But there's typically a cost associated. It depends on what level you're working with us. We've got, of course, professional development, but then we also are partnering with select districts that we work with that district on a monthly basis and have most of our team there partnering with the district on their deployments. So Steve, that was the only one I saw if you want to take it away.
Good, I've got plenty. So what are you studying in school and how does it feel to be in a conventional environment, and to what degree do you end up giving feedback to your professors and others about the ways in which they're using technology?
Great question. I have some opinions about my college experience. Some I'll share, some I won't share. I, as you can imagine, miss about 90% of my classes at this point. I'm on the road most of the time. And so, you know, my professors have really worked with us. We're kind of known as the educational athletes of the school. We're given a lot of assistance and help doing what we do. And I actually get a lot of credit through High School Initiative, so I'm doing directed studies, things like that. But actually, I haven't taken a actual class in about a year, I think 2 semesters now. My professors have asked me to co-teach classes. So right now I'm co-teaching 3 classes. One is online, and I'm supporting him, providing technical support and kind of guiding him through what he's doing and giving suggestions and advice on how to teach online. And then the other 2 are directed studies and classrooms. I'm guest lecturing on social media and things like that. Your first question was, what am I studying? I'm studying business management. That is another serious passion of mine is education and business. So I'm co-teaching a lot of business classes. You know, for example, one of them is a social media class, and my professor came to me and said, you know, I could read theory about social media and business all day, but I don't have actual practical skills in using it. And, you know, what I was so impressed by was the caliber of professors these individuals are, because they have the ability to be so open to taking ideas from anybody and not to be so closed off or so protective of how things are used to be done that they're afraid of doing that. So that's been my college experience for the last year or so. I really struggle with college. You know, when I walk into one of my classes, especially one of my core classes, I had to take like a history class. I walk in and I see 100 people in the room and 50 Facebook screens up on laptops. And I ask myself, why? You know, why are they doing that? But then I look at the center of the classroom and I see a professor doing an hour-and-a-half PowerPoint lecture, and I begin to find out why that's going on in the classroom. So I really think we need to change. I really think that higher education is a whole nother beast to tackle, and K-12 is enough for us now.
Okay, your final question, because we're at our 2-minute mark, but Sharon did ask about learning management systems. I noticed that Schoology appears to be one of your sponsors. Do you have a quick answer to that? Yeah,
we work with 2 primary ones. There are a ton of great ones out there. Schoology and Edmodo are some of the most popular, some of the ones we use regularly. Here's the difference, and here's where we, you know, sometimes make different recommendations. Schoology has a free version, very similar to Edmodo's free version, but Schoology also has a paid version that you can upgrade with more features eventually if you want to. So a lot of times we use Schoology because it has that additional, those additional features you can choose to start using, but Edmodo has many of the others as well, and of course there's, I think, over 40 million people using Edmodo, so they're both great tools. I think they're both really vital, having that social learning platform. My school uses Desire to Learn and some of the older LMSs out there and stuff, and I struggle with some of those sometimes, but I'm a big fan of Edmodo and Schoology.
Okay, you better close.
All right, let's go back here real quick. I want to share with you. Oh, I clicked new page. Wasting my time here. Here we go. I'd like to close by sharing with you 3 things I've learned along the journey that can change our world. First, work hard, fail a lot, but learn more. I cannot tell you how many times I have failed. In fact, my biggest fear growing up in high school was public speaking. I was the type of student who said, I'll build the PowerPoint, you do the presentation. And I got through most of my high school career without ever speaking, and that's sad. And so I highly encourage everyone to work hard, fail a lot, but learn more. Second, have a love and desire to learn, because I truly believe that in the information age, those who will gain power are no longer the people who can afford information. because information is now free. Therefore, the people who are going to be the leaders and who are going to have power are the individuals who are lifelong learners, who go beyond their formal education. And last and quite simply, lead the way. So many times I meet a principal or a teacher who comes to me and says, I love what you're saying, but I'll never think this way, or I'll never move in this direction. And for me, it has been one student, one teacher, one person who says, I'm going to be the game changer. I'm going to be the one that changes my environment and defies the status quo and prove to everybody that they were wrong. The last thing I'll do is share this quote with you. When your passion and your purpose are greater than your fears and excuses, you will find a way. Thank you so much for your time, Steve. I appreciate this opportunity. If you want to join our movement, you can text DLR to 52886. You can also learn more about our organization this way and become part of the digital learning revolution. Thank you so much.
Travis, that was awesome. I just so appreciate all that you do. Thanks for speaking tonight. Thanks everybody for coming. The recordings will go up in about 15 minutes. The YouTube recording will go up tomorrow. It'll be on the Reinventing the Classroom channel. If you want to clap for Travis, hover over the smiley face, and the participant will go down to applause. That's how you applaud for him. Okay. I'm going to turn off the recording now. Travis, go ahead.
I was just going to say one last thing. People were asking. ClassFlow is doing 4 events, and our bus will be at all 4 events, and I will be speaking at all 4 events. It's a free celebration of teachers. Teachers are coming in from all over. We're doing one in Dallas, Anaheim, California, Tampa, and in Atlanta, and more to come as well. I highly encourage, if any of you can make these dates, learn more on classflow.com and come see, and I'd love to meet some of you in person. So these are the events, and I'll leave them up on the way out. Thanks, Steve.
Awesome. Thanks, Travis. I'll send you a quick thank you note with some other things I'd love to brainstorm about with you. You did a great job. Take care, and you should go to bed. Or you're a student, you're not going to bed, but
I'm a college student. I got 4 more hours of study, but yeah.
Hey, thanks again. Have a great night. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to turn the recording off. The recording